Hello and welcome to today's Tidings. I'm your host, Joyce Tumia. And before we go on with the show, I just want to mention that I have now been doing this for 20 years and just got this lovely certificate, which I'm very happy about. Thank you very much. And flowers. So I also thank viewers who have been watching for however many of those 20 years you've been watching. Thank you very much. Now, my show today is on comedy, and who better to talk about comedy than a couple of comedians extraordinaire, Ted Basta and Michelle Krajewski. We're going to start by letting them share some background information on themselves, and then they are going to demonstrate their funniness. Who would like to start with the background information?
Want to play rock, paper, scissors?
Okay, sure.
All right, keep that up all through the show. I'm just going to start pointing.
Okay.
Michelle, you go first.
Okay, I watched comedians since I was a child. My father was a fan of comedy. I would listen to Cosby on reel-to-reel. I'm dating myself. Reel-to-reel tape recorders. And I always loved staying up. I would stay up late and peek through the door when Johnny Carson, when the new comedian was on. I always would stay up and do that. And I never thought about it until it was later. And I was a special ed teacher. I was a theater major in high school, taught special ed. And then I started doing, when my kids were small, comedic dramas in church. And a friend of mine said, you need to go to Second City, because we're in Chicago. And I always wanted to do that when I was 19, 18 years old. And I thought, okay. And my husband is very supportive, and he said, go. And so I did the whole Second City Training Center, did some shows on the main stage. And then I went to a comedy conference, Christian comedy conference, and I met a bunch of clean Christian comedians that were very funny and very encouraging, and it just started from there. I started writing material, and they said just start anywhere, anytime you can perform, get in front of people, and so I did, and that was kind of, went to open mics, I did all kinds of things, went to places where you're actually talking to two people going, is this thing on? You know, all that stuff that you need to do, and I've been...
about your living room?
Yeah. I'm talking about my kids, of course, my in-laws. Anyway, but so I did all that kind of stuff, and but life circumstances. I was just always a funny kid, and I always enjoyed comedy and I love to laugh, and I love to make people laugh. It's the greatest thing to me.
Wonderful.
To say something and then all of a sudden just hit a beat and then laughter.
It is. And Ted, you're going to share some background information on yourself now.
I'm not as extensive as Michelle as far as training goes, but I used to love listening to the comedy records, 33s. Carlin was a big influence. I also loved Carson. I watched that every chance that I got when I was a kid growing up. So all that stuff kind of had an influence. But I didn't really think about doing anything in terms of comedy until a friend pointed me in the direction of Downers Television the first year that they did the show Local Laughs that Michelle and I ended up hosting. And so that was really the first time I busted out into doing some stand-up. The rest of it was just one-liners here and there, tossing some banter around the family.
But you had a reputation for being funny.
Right.
Okay.
And looks aren't everything.
Okay. So let's go over the Local Laughs show, because that was hopefully a landmark in your careers.
It was. That was actually where we met.
Yes.
We took the tour of the studio over here and happened to be at the same time. And right from the beginning, we were bouncing liners off of one another. We had a great time doing the first show. The station was just such, wonderful hosts. And the hospitality was just very great, and the whole experience was wonderful. And then, of course, the station approached us with the prospect of continuing on and doing the show at other times and, into the future. And so we did 4 of them, actually. 3 of them where we hosted. So it was really good. It was a good stepping stone for us, and we've been buds.
And then we
ever
did
since.
The other show. What was the other? Comedy at Random.
Comedy at Random was our
which
other
is
show.
great because I did the improv and the sketch writing. So it was great because we could do characters. Because I think all comedians have characters rolling around in their heads. I think I don't care if you do stand up. I don't care what you do. There's people who influence you, from the crazy teacher, the crazy whoever it was, the neighbor. People that come into your life, there's always a funny character rolling around in your head. So it's fun to be able to do that, to be able to make something up and just be kind of silly. So we had a fun time doing that.
Absolutely.
Okay, now what were the time lengths for both shows? I mean, one was half an hour, one an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Local Laughs, we actually invited a lot of local up-and-coming performers to participate. So that was typically an hour-long show. And it was, a really good experience. It got us a chance to meet some of the people in the community. We reached out to the high schools, and we had a couple of students from Downers North who were involved in the show, who, were basically breaking their way into doing comedy on local TV, and then Michelle has a lot of contacts and friends because she's the more professional of the two of us. I'm the more.
What
I'm
he's
the
really
rookie.
doing is giving you this, big build-up that you're going to have to live up to now.
I know.
So, although that won't be any problem, you already live up to it. Okay, so the show included a lot of local comedians, and they would have to audition in order to get a slot on the show, or it was just they did their best and.
If you know people, you know people.
Okay, so you already knew. If they
No,
were funny or not.
it was people that we knew, and
An occasional $20 bill helped.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud?
Okay.
and we did, basically, you want to make sure they're clean and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, if you're having some kids in and you have, kids from local, there's certain parameters, and I knew certain people, and they were happy to do it. It was great. It was a great experience to be on camera and all that stuff. So it was a great experience.
Okay. Took a lot of coordination though to get the different people in and figure out, know how long each segment would be and tie it all together so you'd come out with the right length and all of that. So that was a bit of a task,
Just
but worth
like
it because it was
you
a
with
great
your
show. It was very
yeah,
fun.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank
Exactly.
you.
Okay. And then the second one was just the two of you, and that was the half-hour one.
Right.
And you took turns, or you were both out there at the same time, or a combination?
A little bit of a combo. Comedy at Random is kind of like a little bit of a mini sketch comedy show. So we had a little bit of banter back and forth with the two of us just kind of playing catch up in a casual setting just like this one. And then we would roll into specific characters and do segments that we each, got a kick out of. And, like Michelle said, there's somebody inside of you, whether it's a character that you've always admired or somebody you created that just, popped into your head, whether you like it or not, or an old school teacher or a
Mostly it's
relative.
whether you like it or
That's
not.
my grandmother. I'm going to do her. She's going to definitely be part of a show.
Well, in my case, the one character that I loved doing was Stacy Suburban because I was born and raised in Chicago, and I move out to the burbs, and it's like I'm a fish out of water here, So I know these moms with the, the ponytails and the clueless, So I had this whole. That was one of the big characters that I like to do. And you what's your?
Oh, I always liked Igor.
Igor. That's
Igor.
right. He's a poet.
Well, the name
Igor
itself is
Iambic.
fun.
Igor Iambic, yeah, he was the poet. And one of my neighbors actually came across the hall and knocked on my door, and he said, "We just saw you on television."
Oh,
and I said, "Oh, yeah, that was great. It's nice to get a little recognition in the community." And he was very right on the money. He said, the poet, Igor Iambic, he said, that is your alter ego. And I said, you are absolutely right. That's the side of me that just comes out and does whatever it wants.
Wonderful. Okay. Now that kind of leads us into a discussion of comedy itself and what is humorous. And I don't know, it sounds like both shows, the first show sounds like it relied mainly on the verbal humor and not situational things. There weren't really skits, for instance, or acting or different characters. And the show that the two of you did had the verbal humor, but you also had some situational comedy. I don't know, you might even have had some slapstick, any pies in the face or chairs pulled out
No,
from
just
under
because
each
we
other.
didn't want them
anything
to
like
have to clean up around.
Yeah. Practical reasons. Practical reasons. Okay. But that was, I think you had some costuming, some accessories and
Correct.
things like
Right.
that. So you had some visual things to add to it then too. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I think most comedy is I think what really makes something funny is truth. Somebody wrote a book, an improv book, and it escapes me, but Truth and Comedy. And I think sometimes there's all kinds of silly stuff and things that are, random things that are kind of silly. We all laugh at those. But I think the things that people really laugh at are the things that they can identify with. You are the person, the comedian, a lot of times is the person in the room that just says what everybody else is thinking. But if you can say it in a funny way, then people right away because they're like, I always thought that, but I could just never. There's a structure to it. There's a lot of structure to comedy that you have to. People make it look easy, but there's a lot of work involved in structuring the joke at the very end and all these things. To set the joke. But I think that for me that's the truth. When sometimes that something it just hits you like it's true. That's so totally true.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you're writing material, even if you're basing it on something that's happened, sometimes you might just be thinking of something that could be funny and it's not always something that really did happen. It's something that could happen. I mean, is it fair to say that not everything is something that you've actually seen happen in your life or somebody else? Okay. Because there are times you can pull things.
Experiences are, to me, somebody had said this before, a springboard to comedy.
Okay.
So you would have something that might happen, and then you would embellish or compare, or it's just a
Exaggerate.
springboard. So most comedy routines, there is a grain of truth in it, but it's exaggeration and wordplay is a big part of the comedy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of it too is actually having the guts, if you want to, put it that way, whatever it is, just being able to step outside of the normal parameters of what's socially acceptable, and like you said, like Michelle said, say out loud all the things that everybody else is just thinking.
Okay, but you can still be appropriate and be funny.
Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, comedy doesn't have to, and you're not saying that it does, but
No.
comedy doesn't have to rely on, inappropriate things. I'm not even going to. Okay. However, you were making me think of something. I won't name this sister, but something can be really funny when somebody says something and they don't even realize they're using the wrong word, like Mrs. Malaprop in Sheridan's 1800 play. One day my sister, the one I won't name, was talking about somebody and talking about ruining the character, and she, instead of using the correct word, said it was a clear case of defecation of character instead of defamation. And and she didn't even realize she said that, but it was so appropriate. It was just hilarious.
Back to the Norm Crosby conversation we had earlier.
Exactly. Well, I had a friend one time who said there was some carpet. She's like, "Don't throw that's a Rembrandt," and I'm like, "We'll keep it then. We won't throw that out." Obviously, it was a remnant. But I mean, exactly. No, there are people who are, and then obviously Norm Crosby. There are people who go through. Archie Bunker was a classic example of that. There are other sitcom characters too as well that are just either with it or out of it, or not educated in the ways or whatever that do those kinds of things. Exactly.
Communication is a very funny subject, and miscommunication when it's not hurtful or anything, and it's just funny.
Right.
The misunderstandings. Yeah. Okay. So why is comedy important? Why is humor important? I mean, it's not just fun; it's important.
It is. It is. You want to tackle that one first?
No, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Happy endorphins. We were talking about that a little while ago.
Okay.
And one of the things that we do when we sign off our show is, I don't know if this is a real observation or not, but it sounds like it ought to work. When we sign off our shows, we always say, remember, any animal on the planet can cry, but man is the only one gifted with laughter. Yeah. So use that gift wisely and use it often. And I think that's really true. We're the only one that can sit down and laugh, say hyenas, but that's really not laughter. That's just a battle cry.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I think without humor, I feel very sorry for people. People you've known as the years go by, people who grew up in houses without laughter. And to me, that's so sad, because they're saying like laughter is kind of like the grease in the wheels of life. I mean, you can get, if you don't have grease in the wheels, you can get to where you're going, but boy, it's going to be really hard to do. And so I just it is very important. I think it's important for the spirit. It
helps put life in perspective, especially
really
if you
does.
can laugh at yourself or your own situation or something that you've done, rather than getting really self-conscious or embarrassed or whatever.
Well, we've all met people who just take themselves way too seriously, and you're just like, really, really, okay. They're
the best characters.
Exactly, because they don't realize how funny they are. But
Stacy Suburban.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hello. I mean, there are people who just, and you look at these people and go, really, you have no. It really gives you a perspective. It takes you out of, like, sometimes even, they have gallows humor. I mean, look at the show MASH. Even, I mean, MASH was one of the funniest shows on television, but it was talking about a very serious subject. Yeah. So it takes you out of the situation sometimes, and it just helps give perspective. And it's almost like a mini vacation for your brain. I think.
Oh, I love that, a mini vacation for your brain.
It really is. I mean,
That's
to
wonderful.
laugh, to be able to laugh. And they said kids, I mean, there's some kind of research, but,
Wait, you mean my brain's not always on vacation?
If it's always on vacation, then
you
you're
got
always
here in the car,
funny.
didn't you?
Being funny or
what is the
finding
date
something
again? I
humorous.
got to write this down.
Oh, dear. Now, I know you both have some different clips. You want to tell us what you're going to show us, and then maybe we'll show one of them now. We should do that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Why don't you tell us what you've got?
Well, I've actually got a clip from one of the shows that we did right here on Downers Television, and deriving a lot of material just from everyday sources. This particular piece was just a lot of ramblings about work and the work environment And a lot of it was great because I didn't have to write a great deal of it. It was actual things that were taking place around the offices that I'd worked at. And then, as Michelle said, you embellish a little bit. You take it a little bit farther and a little bit beyond the normal. So this segment is largely dealing with some of the comedic takes on events that took place in my work history.
Great. Okay, we are going to watch an approximately 45-minute clip here, and we'll be back in a few moments with that.
And I used to work with this guy many years ago who had a toupee on, and it just, after a while you got used to it, but once in a while it would just burst its way through in the middle of whatever the heck you were doing. So we're having a meeting. We're in a nice, closed, tight room, and we're all concentrating on whatever it is. And you know how it is when you're at a meeting, you get an itch, you scratch it, you rub your eye, rub your nose. Well, he gets an itch in the middle of all this, and we're diligently writing notes, and all of a sudden we hear, okay, now the term rug does come to mind because, there's padding under there. Salesman probably threw it in for free, and who knows, maybe he doesn't even have any payments until 2010. But I'm sitting in this meeting, and it sounds like, cats dragging their claws across the carpet, and now I'm trying really hard not to laugh. And I look across the table, and I see everyone else is trying really hard not to laugh. Now I have to try harder not to laugh because I know they're trying not to laugh, and they know I'm trying not to laugh, which makes it even harder not to laugh. And in the middle of all this, he goes for it again. Now it sounds like 10 cats on a Berber rug in an echo chamber. And I don't know what he just said, but I know it's important, so I better ask for the notes from somebody else after the meeting. But they're laughing so hard, they don't have any notes, and now I'm sticking my pen in my leg because I really don't want to laugh anymore. And I'm thinking about this time I get up to go to the bathroom because I really don't want to get fired. And invariably what happens is, you get a new boss in there every once in a while. I tried the management route, but it didn't work out for me because I kept flunking the treachery workshop. When the new boss comes in, they always give you the spiel about how they're going to change everything. They give you the once-over when you get that big meeting at the beginning, and they're saying, okay, they talk all pepped up and positive, and what you really need is you need to translate what they're saying to you, because they'll say things like, okay, I want to get to know each of you a little bit better, which really means I want to assess any threats to my regime. We may have to reorganize office space to make things more efficient so I can divide the cliques and conquer you more readily. And we may have to sit down and powwow because I'm really open to any of the ideas that you want to share. That's because I want to claim the ones that are good for myself and squash the ones I don't agree with.
Okay, well, I understand that I perhaps did not enunciate clearly enough before we broke away for that segment because I said 4 to 5, but apparently it came out sounding like 45-minute clip. So those of you who were expecting a 45-minute clip and only got a 4 to 5-minute clip are probably either very disappointed because it was so funny or happy that they don't have to, be late for their next appointment or something because the show will end at its right.
They don't have to listen to the other 41 minutes.
Speaking of miscommunication, okay, so that was very funny.
Really?
That was very funny.
What was your favorite joke?
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, put me on the spot. I know better than to just say what my favorite joke was. They were all funny.
That's right.
You're just
That's
saying that
because
it's true.
Funny.
You're just saying that because it's true.
What was your favorite joke? You have to agree with me that they were all funny,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
right.
they
See, okay.
All of them.
All right. Well, then let's hear how long a clip you're going to do, and let's see if I can enunciate the timing better. Tell us about. You have several different things.
Yes, I have. These clips were off my DVD that I filmed in. It was filmed in Lima, Ohio, it's kind of but that is where Phyllis Diller lived, Lima, Ohio.
Well, that's funny right there.
I know, that's hilarious for a female comic. One of the originals. So it was my DVD, and it was basically my take on my kids' family life or any of those topics that it's my point of view.
Okay, wonderful. So we will watch one or more at the moment, however many end up getting strung together here, and then we will be back. And I won't say how long we'll be gone. How about
Yes,
that? I'll just
okay.
we'll have a little mystery with
Yes,
the show too.
it will be.
You know, they have
I got
romantic
45
comedy.
minutes. Let's go.
They have romantic comedy. Let's have a new genre here. We'll have mystery comedy. I like it. Okay, we'll be back whenever.
My husband and I lost a little weight. You know, we go up and down, but you know, my husband lost a lot of weight. So I told him after he lost weight, I said, honey, what do you want to do now that you lost the weight? He's like, I want to wear bike shorts. I said, well, I think they make them in your size. He goes, no, the ones with the gel padding in the seat. Maybe you should get a pair. I'm like, I didn't lose 30 pounds to pack it back on in one garment. Walking around like a baboon, but, you know. Bungee cord a mattress to my bike before I put a pair of those comfort babies on. You know. Another reason, too, is that spandex and I are not like this, okay? I'll give you a simple tip about spandex. When you put it on, it shouldn't change colors. Bad experience. Here's a story that happened to me. I got in the wrong van. Okay, now here I'm in near Naperville, land of the minivans, silver van. How many are there, right? We walk out after lunch. I'm talking to my friends. Okay, got my key fob out. Click. Hear the click. Okay, hear the click. I go over, open up the van, get inside, close the door. I don't have cloth seats. And I don't have a toy Elmo in my ashtray. So it takes me a while to even think this out. I'm in the wrong car. Now, the first thing that goes through your mind is not, I'm losing it, which it should be, but I hope nobody saw me, you know? So I'm thinking I'm going to sneak out, right? So I open up the door and it's like, get out there. And she's standing, this woman is standing at the end, laughing hysterically. I'm like, I heard the click, I'm sorry. She goes, I clicked at the same, so we must have clicked at the same time. So then my good church friend that she is, comes by with her van, slowly. Michelle, did you get in somebody else's car? Again? So then, of course, it made its way around church, you know, during our gossip. I mean, prayer chain, you know. Let's pray for our sister Michelle who's losing it. Now, somebody asked me, some people are asking, was she mad? I'm like, no, now we're friends on Facebook. We joined the group, people sit in other people's cars.
And that was very funny. That was wonderful. Couple different clips there, and they were very funny. Very nice. Okay. I have to return the favor here. What was your favorite one?
My favorite
Ted?
one is the bit about the sensible shoes.
Oh, you like that one?
I love that one.
I think that's my CD, not my DVD.
Never mind then.
I had a feeling he wasn't paying attention. Very funny. Yeah. Okay. So what would you like to tell us as far as an update on your careers? Like what you're doing now, future plans, what's up?
Okay.
I haven't been doing a lot of performing. Myself, I've been doing a lot more writing. Okay. Actually, a friend of mine and I, we completed a screenplay, which we are trying to sell right now.
Is it a funny screenplay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is absolutely funny. It is total action comedy. And so that's primarily where my focus has been. And a couple of others, too, that I'm doing on my own for shorts, movie shorts, and things like that. So my focus has largely been on a lot of that, script writing and things like that.
Really nice. Yeah. Well, good. I hope to hear more about this.
So do I.
Yeah. And see it. Okay. And what are you up to now?
I'll be going to the August 1st through 15th. I'll be down in Atlanta doing a Southern tour, Coconuts Comedy Club in Florida. I do clean comedy, so I'm going to something called the Clean Comedy Challenge.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes. But I'll be doing some shows with some really good headliners. I have a website, comedyattheedge.com, comedyattheedge.com, and my clips are on there. And I do clean comedy, so I do churches, I do corporate, I do civic, any place clean comedy is needed. So I have a business, and I can come to your place and do comedy. That's what I've got. So I've got my website, and I get booked, and I do bookings, and I do clubs too. I also
Okay.
perform in clubs to keep sharp.
Wonderful. Do you have themed shows? For instance, do you have like a holiday theme? Say if people wanted comedy at Christmas. You know, all kinds of jokes related to Christmas shopping and the relatives coming and the cooking and, you know, whatever else you can think of that would be funny around Christmas. Do you have themed shows?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, I'm not speaking for you, but, you know,
Go
I
ahead.
kind of write some of the material based on those topics so that
Okay.
if you've got an occasion to do around a holiday, that you've already got some things that you can associate and relate with it, whatever it is. Halloween, you know, Christmas, whatever's appropriate.
Okay.
So there's something
Or
there.
weddings, you know, if you were doing a bridal shower or something, it would be really funny to have things related to getting married and all the different things that could happen.
I would love to do
No.
a bridal shower.
You'd kill at a
I
bridal
would
shower.
kill at a bridal shower.
Kill.
I don't know.
Yes. But some of it with comedy, I did a large shout in Kansas. It was, they call it LOL Christmas, laugh out loud.
Oh,
So
there you
I
go.
have all kinds of ideas if churches or people call me up for. I do have 2 hours set material.
Wow.
That I have that I can draw upon. So if somebody if it's a family, I did a family church event, so did my kids stuff. I talk about my kids. If it's couples, I talk about couple stories and about being married and family life. So
Perfect.
it can be tailored.
Perfect.
To usually you have a set material that you can tailor to something.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people when they call, like if a comedian calls and says, "I'll just write a whole new show for you," don't book them because you really need to do tried and true material.
Yeah.
So, but you can tailor
Okay.
it.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you both very much for coming. We'll put your contact information in the credits.
Okay.
I wish you great success with
Thank
all
you
of
for
your
having
future
us.
endeavors,
Thank you.
especially
Yeah.
the comedic ones, whether it's a script or the programs or whatever.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You were
Pleasure
you were
being here
right.
again.
Absolute right.
It was fun.
Thank you for watching. Please join me again for future episodes of Today's Tidings.